Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog, the Week 11 recap, plus a live sweat of Kansas City and Buffalo. 4th and 2. They're going for it, it appears. No.
It's over.
It's over.
Josh Allen just did Josh Allen stuff.
Oh, see, put it back in his, I guess the third down play. Oh, wow. Oh, he's all the way?
Yeah.
Oh, bye-bye. So this becomes the talking point that Tim and I had in the room just before we came in to film. And it didn't even occur to me that when Kansas City scored the touchdown in that spot, that Tim suggested that they go for 2. In lieu, if Buffalo scores a touchdown, you're still in the game. It's like, well, they'll probably just take, just in my mind, it's like, oh, they'll take the extra point because now they can win with a field goal. They rely on your defense. I don't know what the numbers would have broken it down to, but I think you were right.
Thank you. I just, looking at it, I was like, well, Buffalo's offense can certainly score, and they've gotten touchdowns in the game. And I just, by going for 2, and if you're successful, it keeps you in the game no matter what the Bills do, unless they run the clock out. And so, I think there's a case for both sides, but I think the aggressive play is to go for 2 and take your chances.
And frankly, Garion, that the Chiefs, like, if they need a 2-yard play, they got that play.
That's the thing. I will say I had the same thought as Tim. I figured that they would opt to make it a field goal wins the game kind of route, which I guess I see the merit of that to an extent. But I think if you're the Chiefs, the other thing you have to think about and remember, if you are in that scenario, is even if you set yourself up for a situation where you're, a field goal only ties the game, if you don't get the 2-point conversion, you seemingly have all the overtime coin luck in the history of existence. So, overtime is your friend if you're Kansas City. But yeah, what a play by Josh Allen. I don't know why they didn't just let him have the ball on 3rd down there, but they seemingly corrected that mistake on 4th down.
Well, there was a situation earlier in one of the games where there was a 3rd and 2, and they tried a very similar play, and then they got to 4th down, and they put their quarterback out on the field to see if they could draw the other team off sides. And they were in field goal range, and it looked like they were going to go for it to try to ice the game. But instead, they decided to take a timeout and kick the field goal. And what happened to that team, Tim? Who was that team?
The Jets. They lost. It made no sense in the world. You're up 2. It's 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and they elected to kick a field goal to go up 5, where a touchdown would still beat you. But it made every piece of sense to go for it there and try to keep the game going and try to win. But if you're going to try to draw them offside and kick the field goal, then you just take the 5-yard penalty because they were very deep in Indianapolis territory, and the guy had made a 58-yarder. Like, the difference between a 31-yarder and a 36-yarder is not worth the timeout that they could have very much used at the end of the game and could have used an extra 40 seconds. So, like, you go for it and you use the timeout because you're going to go for it, or you draw them offside, you take the penalty, and you kick the field goal. What you don't do is try to draw them offside, then call the timeout, then kick the field goal. It is just such mind-numbing nonsense from a team that, once again, they're favored every week, and they lose every week. And they did exactly what they always do. They win on Thursdays, and only Thursdays, or when they play Will Levis. That's it. That's the only circumstances in which they can win.
They got lucky in that Levis game, too.
Of course, he gave them the ball. They should have lost that game, too. It's mind-numbing. They so deserved the loss. They even played pretty well offensively. They scored 27 points. Like, the way that defense is constructed, that should be enough to win. But no, they just make every wrong decision. It looks good on them to lose. Enjoy your bye week. I can't wait to see you in 2 weeks when you're favored by 12 against the Seahawks and you lose.
You already called the Seahawks a win earlier today.
Yeah, well, I no longer feel that way. I liked the Seahawks today in that game. They won. I don't know if they were going to win. I liked them to play close because the Niners are just not that great of a team, but people don't see it. Well, the Niners once again lost another close divisional game, and they're 1-3 in division. And their chances of winning the division are by no means gone, but they are running out of outs by doing this.
You're keeping an eye on this Kansas City comeback because we've seen Kansas City do some wonky stuff before against the Bills, where they'll kick a field goal here, get the onside kick and a Hail Mary, and still win the game somehow.
Yeah, I think they'll probably do it a little bit better than Sean McVay tried on Monday Night Football too. Is he like, I know this isn't the biggest story of the day, but this is something that I think Twitter was reminded of that night, and I'm constantly reminded of. For as much as we like talk about how Sean McVay is a genius, he's a coward, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Even today, punting from like the 35-yard line, up 6 with like I know they ended up winning the game, but like my goodness.
It's really strange considering he seems like he can scheme almost anyone open at any time. 4, 5 yards. It's like the Dolphins got back to their bread and butter today by like, hey, it's 3rd and 4. I got to play. Let's run Tyreek from one side of the formation underneath everyone, and he'll just be wide open right here every time.
That Dolphins team is a playoff caliber team. Doesn't mean they're going to. Doesn't mean they're going to get there because they're behind the 8 ball.
When the Colts are beating everyone.
Well, but Denver has them by a win and a half right now because they haven't taken their bye. So like that Miami team is every bit as good as Denver or Cincinnati or the Colts chasing them for the playoff spot. I just don't know whether they start too far behind by not having Tua for 4 weeks and not being able to play.
They have Cust and our Dolphins buddy went through the schedule earlier today, Gary, and they have some pretty winnable games coming up here.
I mean, it depends how you feel about San Francisco, really, because I feel like they can't lose more than one more game. And I feel like Tim will attest that regardless of how bad the Jets look every single week, I'm terrified of 2 games against the Jets. Just tough divisional games. I said this. Ooh, wow. That would have ended it. Dropped interception by the Bills. But look, technically the Dolphins have won 2 games since we last talked, I was last on here. I said the schedule got a little easy. There's a very good chance they'll be 5-6. I don't care. I still don't believe. The big test is going to be the Packers. If they can come out of the Packers week on Thanksgiving at 6-6, then I can maybe start looking at a schedule and kind of thinking about it a little bit. But honestly, there was a point today where I was watching Red Zone and they cut to the Titans and Will Levis did something stupid. And I was reminded that the Dolphins have lost to the Titans this season. So, like they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. I know it's an injury thing with Tua mostly, but other teams win with a backup quarterback occasionally. Like if you can't beat the Titans with a backup quarterback, you probably don't deserve to make the playoffs.
And last year too was the reason they had to play in minus 500-degree weather instead of being at home in the first round because they gave away that Levis game on Monday Night Football.
Are the Titans
13-point lead?
Are the Titans to the Dolphins like the Steelers are to the Ravens? And
yeah,
what I have to think is the most disappointing anticipated game all year long. Like we watched every snap of that game. That was the sound TV, the big TV, and it was fucking terrible.
Yeah, it was compelling, but it was terrible.
Like it was compelling. Like this game that we're watching right now. Like obviously it got to 30-21 right now in Kansas City and Buffalo. That game was there was good D being played. It seemed tight. They were getting to the quarterback, but good plays were still being made in the game. It was the opposite in the Steelers and Ravens game. It was just a calamity of errors by everyone. And from 2 teams you don't expect that from. Particularly
Baltimore. What a very disappointing showing. To be beaten by a team who kicked 6 field goals. Is that correct? Did the Ravens?
Yeah, they got to 18, yeah.
Yeah, the Steelers didn't score a touchdown. And you had one of the most, after Detroit, the most potent offense in the NFL. And you got 16 points. Tucker is not who he used to be. Tucker is like the San Francisco 49ers. He's not as good as he used to be. He's still good, but he's not as good as he used to be. And he missed 2 big field goals, and the Steelers kicker was making them from everywhere. So, they got beat legitimately, straight up. What a fantastic win that was for Pittsburgh. I take a lot out of that. I feel far more optimistic about the Steelers now than I did a week ago. I felt like the Steelers were a placeholder team that would probably be a 5 seed and do nothing in the playoffs. That was a huge win. That tells me that's a team that, with time and being able to coach up for a whole week against an opponent, can beat anybody in the AFC.
Okay, Garion, just throw that out. They play on Thursday night against the Browns now. Isn't that the classic get beat by the Browns spot?
I guess, but do the Steelers really have like the letdown spot?
Well, no,
I mean, they're
because
just so well coached.
Yeah.
they are, but we talked about it. That I think that Mike Tomlin might be a secret Marvin Harrison on the down low. That if you disappoint Mike Tomlin or do something he doesn't like, he will murder you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe your family. I'm not sure what's going on with Mike Tomlin. We're talking here. You know about low-key Marvin Harrison. Don't own a car wash around Marvin Harrison. It's real difficult. But it's funny because Wilson threw the pick in the end zone directly after we were talking about it. But
awful play.
It was an awful play, but the play before was basically the exact same play, and he just ate it. He ate a few of the runs in that game, too. It's like, my job here is to not turn the ball over. We don't need anyone to win the game. It looks like the Bills won. Paul's fist-pumping behind.
Good for Paul. That's a big win. That's an important win. That's now a tiebreaker against Kansas City. The Bills don't have very many tough games left. Buffalo, I think, needs the 1 seed more than anybody.
And this is why
This gives them a huge opportunity to get the 1 seed. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I still think that they're probably underdogs to get it, but this gives them a great opportunity for it. And so Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and Seattle. I come out of today feeling those 3 teams perform much better than I anticipated.
I think you're missing one because I would say Pittsburgh and Denver were the two teams
Denver
where I
played
was
great.
saying were placeholder AFC teams that I didn't trust to actually get it done when it mattered. I didn't trust their quarterback play, and honestly, at this point, I have to tip my cap to Bo Nix. I mean, he's making plays. He looks good. And they also have the advantage now of, yes, they definitely lost a very winnable game against Kansas City, and that would have almost, would have propelled their playoff stock astronomically. But they have the Raiders and then the Browns before a bye week. Like, they can really solidify their standings in the playoff here. And I think they also they have the one game against the Chiefs left, and it's week 18. So there's a very good chance by the time that game rolls around, Kansas City's not even going to be playing its starters.
Yeah, potentially. It depends on what the Bills do, because if now Kansas City has to stay ahead of the Bills, they really can't. I assume they would sell out in Week 18 for the 1 seed if it came down to it.
I think anybody would.
Fair, but I guess if you're Denver and you're looking at that schedule, the week you would most want to play Kansas City is Week 18 because there's at least a chance that you won't have to face them.
No, I agree.
But it's so funny to see them bring in Justin Fields towards the end of the game, Pittsburgh that is. And you saw on the play the reason Russell Wilson is the starter for the Steelers. Great play. We were like, oh, Fields is coming in. There's one thing that he's going to be doing right now, and it's not throwing the ball. They're not going to let him put the ball in the air. And he breaks a tackle, looks awesome, and then slides before the first down. Guy, take another step and the game is over. What are you doing here?
It's just like you knew what he was going to do, just like you knew what Taysom Hill was going to do when he stood under center and he ran for 75 yards.
It's just he's just going to get the ball and run to the left. It's apparently Cleveland didn't see that coming.
But the funniest part about the Justin Fields thing is you could almost see the machinations of his brain where he's like, oh man, Mike Tomlin's going to be so proud of me because I'm going to pick up this first down and I'm going to do that thing they always clap and go what a smart player. He slid because he knew he had it, except he slid way too soon.
The other one too, smash the like while you're here, by the way. Code Mayo at Underdog. Big losing day on Underdog. It's what I get for investing, Garion. 2 weeks in a row, I've come away thinking I bet Ray Davis over receiving yards last week. It was 2.5. He had none. Today I went with Dearness Johnson, higher receiving yards, none for him. I think if I just stay away from these random galaxy brain dudes, I do much better. Because everyone else hit. Nothing was more fun. I got to make sure that it did hit, and he didn't get there in garbage time. But the Audric Estime under on his yardage was free money. And people were all in on this guy. Yeah, what did he end up with? 16 yards on 6 carries. Great showing, though. Hot pickup. Denver didn't need him. They just need Bo Nix. 300 yards, 4 touchdowns against your Falcons.
To a bunch of names that I have
You can't trust them. You can't trust them. They're no Tillman. You can trust him.
Yeah, Cust found out who Cedric Tillman was today. Didn't realize that was a real person.
Good.
But
He's
there was a part earlier on in the Saints game where I actually had to Google who these people were catching passes. I was like, who is
MVS. You knew him.
Well, no, I had MVS in. The DraftKings show was a profitable show because we had Jameis with Judy and MVS, although I took Taysom out of that one, so that was a bad one. And the other one was just Detroit players. Play as many as you can because they ain't stopping.
Can't stop Detroit. Won't stop Detroit.
I mean, they got stopped against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
One time.
The Chiefs have been stopped one time.
Now that the Chiefs have lost, can you finally put Detroit at 1?
You know what? I might not.
Okay.
I mean, after looking terrible and beating the Texans, I didn't adjust anything after Baltimore looked really good. I didn't move Baltimore ahead of them. I kept Detroit at number 2 where they were.
Okay.
What does beating Jacksonville tell you?
Well, just they played fantastically and the Chiefs lost.
Okay, so
By 9.
the Chiefs lost to who I had rated as the number
the reason
4
you weren't
team in the
moving the
league.
Chiefs down
The Lions beat the number 31 ranked
Yeah,
team.
but you weren't going to move the Chiefs down because you said, until they lose, I'm never moving them down. Well, now they've
I think
lost.
you should put the
Yeah,
Bills
but-
ahead of the Lions.
That's
You know what?
that's a hot take.
You know what? I might just move the Bills to number 1. That's
Well,
the move.
That's
Bills, best team in football
imagine
now.
if they still had MVS, what they could do.
Oh, MVS, game changer.
A game changer. Cooper made some really nice catches today. Buffalo was very impressive today.
And they're down
I'm
two
loath
of their,
to say it, but they really played well.
and they're down 2 of their better receivers.
Yeah.
Like not having Kincaid and even the throw where he overthrew Knox into like triple coverage. Even Romo pointed out like Curtis Samuel was just
Wide open.
Samuel got more involved today, which was nice to see because that was, before he like pulls a hamstring or something like that. Like actually using him in that sort of role is huge for their offense. But as someone pointed out, like after that, I think it was Butts who pointed it out when he threw it to Knox in the triple coverage. Gary, it's like, oh yeah, he just thought that was Kincaid, and Kincaid's just way faster than Knox that he just would have been there on the overthrow.
Yeah.
And no Coleman.
I mean, they've got weapons. Even the adjustment that Samuel made on that touchdown reception in the fourth quarter, not only to catch it, but then to stay on his feet and get in the end zone was incredibly impressive.
The other thing I wanted to point out is I think that the Steelers practice spin moves all week in practice. Russ must have had 8 spin moves in the pocket. And then Pickens, I don't know who's more boneheaded, him or Xavier Worthy, doing the exact same thing by actively stepping out of bounds instead of just staying in bounds. Therefore, it doesn't count as catches. But every time, Garion, Pickens catches the ball, it's not my original thought. Someone tweeted it at me. It's like someone hits, it's a reception, and then they're playing Madden, and then they smash all the buttons, and then something happens. What's he doing on every catch? I don't get it.
It's true.
It's wild. That game was so weird. And again, I don't want to take anything away from the Steelers because that's a massive win. And like I said before, between them and the Broncos, I have to eat crow on just how much I wasn't trusting those two teams. They had definitively amazing wins today. But again, if you're going into that game against the Ravens and I tell you, okay, this is going to be a game where just weird stuff happens. Neither team is going to score 20 points and one team is going to win by kicking 6 field goals. You're like, oh, the Steelers win that game 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
That's like a classic the Steelers win that game script. And maybe they can just keep doing that. I guess they've been doing it this long. Why can't they just keep doing it? But I do still fear that when they get to the playoffs, they're going to face a team like the Bills or like the Chiefs where their offense is just too good to be contained. Now, again, the Ravens are a fantastic offense, so don't get me wrong. Their defense is legitimate.
But they also had those uncharacteristic turnovers, and maybe you can attribute that to Pittsburgh. They made some nice plays, but even just Derrick Henry fumbling on the second carry of the game, like that doesn't normally happen.
Don't understand why they didn't give him the ball on the 2-point play.
No, they
100% what I would have done.
Worst play, the Ravens 2-point play, or Aaron Rodgers' Will Levis impression when they had to come back to score a touchdown. Like, just throw it incomplete and stop the clock, you moron.
I don't even know what
It was so funny that, I was watching Red Zone at that point, and I was like, okay, so Colts up 1. There's like 45 seconds left. Surely they'll go back to this Jets-Colts game at some point, and they just never did. So I had to look up on my phone what happened. It was like, oh, because they never got across the 50. They never even got a positive play.
What was the stat that they had earlier on in the day that it was the 3rd game this season the Jets started with 4 consecutive 3-and-outs, and that happened once in Aaron Rodgers' entire time in Green Bay?
It's baffling, beyond belief baffling. But get it all out now because next year they're going to have to come back with all these players again and a new head coach and probably a new general manager and a good draft pick and let's just see what on paper, this team next year should be really, really, really good.
As good as they are on paper this year?
Even better because they'll have an additional high draft pick. This team...
Run it back.
No, but on paper, this team should next year again have the best of everything at every position. They should be great. So hopefully with a new coach, a new general manager, and another offseason where Aaron played the year and then got into the offseason, hopefully they can take advantage of the mismatches that they have all over the field. But it's not going to happen this year. I don't understand why they keep losing these games other than they're not well coached, they're making dumb mistakes, and they're not executing, and the defense isn't tackling.
So, Garion, here's the thing. The Jets suck, but their players are all pros.
Why do they keep getting
all
favored every
22
week?
of them.
Why are they favored if they're so awful? Why are they favored
if
every
they're
single week?
If they're so awful and they're favored every single week, why do you fucking pick them to win every single week and cover the number?
I'm not going to pick against them. Unless I'm certain they're going to lose, but like...
Well,
no,
you just basically said you are certain they're going to lose every game.
Well, because...
Yet, they got up in that game 14-13. You're like, bring on the Seahawks next week. No match for the Jets.
I got a little excited, but look, I mean... They should win all these games. I don't understand how they're favored in all these games because they're better than all these teams. But they just keep losing. They'll be favored against Seattle in 2 weeks. They will be at home. They'll be like 2.5-point favorites.
Rodgers sucks, man. He is so bad.
And yet,
you got super gleeful when he completed a 14-yard pass. And then you said, that's how you move the ball down the field.
That is how you move the ball down the field. I stand by that statement. Like, we'll see next year. But like...
All right, when he's 42, he's going to be even better.
When they're playing teams down the stretch, like they're going to be favored still in a lot of those games, and they're awful, but they're going to be favored in most of them.
You're going to pick them too.
Almost certainly, maybe not against the Seahawks.
Your optimism like the way you fan continues to just be so weird to me. Like the Dolphins legitimately were not stopped today. The only drive they had that they didn't score
was before half.
Because it was like the end of the half. And I still just assumed right up until Jonnu Smith caught that touchdown that they were going to – their first 3 and out of the game was going to be this drive in the fourth quarter. And the Raiders, who had one tight end and no one else, were going to drive the field and score a touchdown. Like that was – every fiber of my body was like, yeah, that would be a really good way for this game to end. Where you're just like, the Jets make one good play and you're like, oh my God, we're going to turn this around. You've already talked yourself into 2026.
2025. 2025.
The Super Bowl's in 2026.
You know what's going to happen is that the Jets are going to take someone at like the 3rd pick overall or wherever the hell that they pick. And you're going to be like, oh man, this guy is so good. Then Aaron Rodgers is going to retire.
He won't because there's too much money at stake.
You think he needs the money?
No, but I think he wants it.
Do you think that he's like what our friend thinks Rob Lowe is like, of why he still acts in things?
I think
doesn't he have enough money? Why does he need to act anymore?
I think the span of Aaron Rodgers' career suggests that he definitely wants the money.
Do you think he's not playing well because there's still seed oil in things?
Not for long. He's not playing well in part because the offensive line is not blocking. In part, he is showing some elements of his age. There's a lot of things. Devontae came in midseason. They didn't have the full camp with him. They're still I would anticipate you give a full off season and time with them again.
Wait, did you just say he doesn't have a full camp with Devontae?
No, we didn't this year, right?
But still, I would say the Aaron Rodgers experience with the Jets has been like the number one thing about it has been building a roster that he's familiar with, so he doesn't need time to gel with them.
He still needs more time. And anyway, I don't want to
he's running out of it. He's 47 years old.
I don't want to sidetrack this conversation.
No, what we need is Sanders and Sanders with the Jets next year. No, that's what we're looking forward to.
Aaron,
how in would you be on Dion and Sanders?
No, I don't need that. I don't need that.
Maybe Dion could be player coach. I mean, he's the same age as Rodgers.
What I need is Aaron to be involved in hiring the right type of coach for this team.
Oh, that's not what you want.
You
do not want Aaron Rodgers.
He's going to name Nate Hackett the head coach.
I want him happy. Because
Jordy Nelson got into coaching at like the high school level?
Because we have to have him next year. So
No, you could draft a quarterback with like the 5th overall
to clinch
pick
by Halloween. The talent level on this team is good enough to clinch by Halloween. They just don't do it. But they should, and they could, because they're really, 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 really good. But they are
you
good.
Giving yourself a hypothetical Super Bowl again?
No.
Are you giving yourself next year's hypothetical Super Bowl?
I think they are going to be really, really undervalued going into next year because everybody
I doubt it, because they're still getting favored. So how are they going to be undervalued?
They're going to be really good next year. I feel like all the bad luck from the last 2 years is going to balance off on the scale, and things are going to just break their way.
They have a hypothetical dynasty in the works, Garion. It's amazing.
They have so much talent at every position. They shouldn't be losing to pretty much anybody.
Hey, here's the thing. Maybe you're not a great talent evaluator. Maybe these guys just aren't that great.
They are that great. And you know how I know that? Because they keep getting favored every week by people
Because
who know
they-
exactly what they're talking about.
Do they? Because the people who seem to be winning the money are just betting against them every week.
But, like, they're good.
Yes, KJ Parlay in the chat says it best. You're like the pollsters who just predicted that Kamala would win, and there'd be no other answer to that. She's obviously going to win. I have this one poll that says so. It's no different than you calling that catch the greatest catch ever because they said it on the broadcast, and then every time that I brought up some sort of hyperbole on a broadcast today, you're like, well, that's nonsense. Why would they say that?
Well, just because they were nonsensical about that doesn't mean they were also hyping up. Like that doesn't mean that they also were hyping up the Wilson catch, which is nicer than anything Odell Beckham ever did in that game. Like the game where he made that catch. Like, it's better than that catch.
What? Can we run that poll, Paul? What catch was better, the Garrett Wilson catch or the Odell catch on Sunday night? I'll run the poll. You run the poll.
Who did the Odell catch better? Odell or Garrett Wilson?
Wilson's catch was better.
It really
And
wasn't.
people said so.
Like you and someone else? Jets Reddit? Yeah, Jets Reddit was all over it.
I did want to point out to you guys. I have switched over to the Grey Cup, sort of watching the background, which
What's the
I'm watching
score?
on CTV.
What's the
It
score?
is playing on CTV, despite the fact you guys had a 20-minute conversation about
We
the fact that
did.
it wasn't airing on CTV.
We did.
I mean, like I would know. I don't have any fucking clue. I trusted Feinberg on this.
did too.
He's Mr. Canada.
What's the score?
He also bet Bills alt lines, which he just won. He bet Bills -7.5 against the Chiefs today to stand with Cam.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know Garion's watching as a Torontonian. He's very involved in the double blue.
I was more just, I might as well put more football on the television as I sit here. The Blue Bombers are winning, Tim.
Okay.
Go Bombers!
It's good. Good. What did you say, sorry?
10-3. Although
Hustle.
the Argos seem like they're about to score.
Good for Huss.
I was hoping it'd be like 5-1 or something. Just the most CFL score possible. Question for you. Who's not scoring the first touchdown tonight?
Justin Herbert.
Ebell? There we go. That's the first, off the board one. We got, what does that pay? Pulled up here. Oh, Joe Burrow? 14-1? Really? Paul, you find me a better number. Tell me where it's at than 14-1? If you can. Yep. Anything you like props-wise in this game, Garion, by chance?
I'll be honest, I haven't really looked at the board. I was just waiting to hear who Tim wasn't betting on. That's generally the only thing I bet on Sunday nights.
Jamar Chase hires? Well, you know what? Jared's coming in right now with the Cust Eats meal of the day. Paul, do we want to queue up our little mid-break to get everything set up? Let the audience experience not only our good friends at Doers, but a brand new sponsor of the show, the TGL. Introducing to you the TGL presented by SoFi Golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN+. This is a simulator plus real chipping, real grass, and real green league featuring some of the PGA Tour's biggest players like Tiger and Rory and Xander. Only 2-hour matches inside of a stadium and has other sporting elements like timeouts, refs, and overtime. You tee off from real grass into a screen. You might end up in the rough, or sand, real sand, and have to play it back into the screen out of there. After that, they use the technology to drop it by a real green side area plus a real putting surface, getting everyone involved in the contest. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. To learn more, visit tglgolf.com and tune into the inaugural season beginning January 7th. Keep up. It's golf. We're at the time of year where people are going to ask you what you want for a gift, and you're going to say, I don't want anything, or I don't know. Here's an answer. Doer. My Doer pants I got last week are the most comfortable pieces of clothing that I own. I got a pair of denim stretch jeans and these joggers. These joggers are amazing. You get them in a whole bunch of colors, but they don't look like joggers, so when you go out into public, I mean, we would wear crappy jogging pants out in public because they're so comfortable all the time, but then people see you're like, who is this absolute goober walking around in his joggers wearing his pajamas? No. The Doer joggers look so good. They are lightweight, they are stylish, they are relaxed, and beyond anything, they again are the most comfortable things I own. I wore them like 3 days in a row, which is a lot for a pair of pants. I absolutely love my Doers, and I know you're gonna love them too. Check out Doer's flagship stores in LA or Denver, or shop online at shopdoer.com/PME. Right now, here's the thing.
My listeners, you good people, listening to the Pat Mayo Experience, get 20% off your first purchase when you use my exclusive URL, shopdeuer.com/PME. This is an awesome deal. Don't wait. Go get 20% off right now at shopdeuer.com/PME.
So we have, what would you say this was, Jared? Chicken flavored soup. Chicken flavored noodle soup. So there's no actual chicken in it. And Cust has been sitting here for the past, 8 hours or whatever those ads were, just staring at it, like being mad that he can't eat it yet. But Jared, you gave me a little bit to see like how salty it is. So I'll give you a salt rating on like normal food versus like whatever this is. So. Oh my God, these noodles are like chewy.
Ooh, el dente.
It's like salt with chewy rubber and a little like hint of chicken.
Can I have some?
Go for it. Oh my God. Fucking terrible.
This is really good.
The difference in your reactions was amazing.
This is really good.
Also, the Argos kicker just got hurt, which might prevent him from kicking a game-winning rouge later.
Oh, you can bring it on. They have specialty rouge guys. There's guys who practice rouges on the side, Gary.
I think the punters are more about the rouges than the kickers.
Yes, the punters do normally do the rouge. But, Paul V in the chat says he'd rather eat a pair of Dewars. I'm wearing some Dewars right now. Very comfortable.
No one said you had to eat them. You don't have to eat them. I'm going to eat them because I enjoy it. You don't have to enjoy the MREs. You can enjoy what you enjoy. I'm not criticizing whatever it is that you're supping on. Don't criticize what I'm eating.
Paul, one of your like weirdo fans from your show is in my chat and they're being fucking weird. Why are all MMA people only like feel like people who've like hit their head against a wall 8,000 times in their life?
Well,
Do we know that they're an MMA person?
It's MMMDDD.
MMM is not MMA.
I mean, it probably is, but the guy can't spell MMA.
I think they probably voted for Jeff most insane at some point.
Or for you?
Or yeah, they probably voted for me most insane.
You're really down in that, aren't you? We got into a discussion. Let me ask you this, Garion.
Mm-hmm.
If you went to, let's say, your run-of-the-mill, like wherever it might be, Applebee's, some
let's
random
not.
bar, wherever it is, and you just popped in and you went to the bar and you ordered a beer, and that's all you wanted, you got the beer and you left. Would you tip on that one beer?
At the bar?
Yeah. See? Everyone does this except you, because you don't want to tip.
here's the thing. You all spent weeks telling me I don't need to tip at Starbucks. So the distinction that's not clear to me is why is pouring coffee out of an urn not tippable, but draft out of a tap tippable? What's the distinction I'm missing here? Doesn't it seem completely arbitrary? There needs to be
because you don't sit at Starbucks, like you don't sit at Starbucks and consume the beverage in front of the person.
People do that all the time, Garion. All the time.
Look, I would say it's because it's a bartender is, I don't know. There's like slightly a performative aspect to it. Like
It's fast food versus non-fast food. You're not obligated to tip at fast food. In fact, you're not obligated to tip anywhere.
No,
you don't want to tip anywhere.
A cocktail, I understand that. There's more work involved. But the distinction between pouring the coffee from an urn and draft from a tap, there needs to be a handbook.
No, you don't. You just need to stop being so cheap, is what this comes down to.
There needs to be a handbook so that people can navigate these circuitous, seems to be arbitrary rules, like this capricious rule versus that one, as to where persons are expected to tip and when persons are not expected to tip. That's all I ask.
You're just looking for reasons not to tip.
No, I just want
That's all you're trying to do. We know your game.
What's socially acceptable? What is socially expected? If it's expected to tip on a draft beer, one only, fine, then I'll do that. But I just figured, and this is a logical deduction I'm making, that if it's not required from coffee out of an urn, it isn't required for a single beer out of a draft tap.
Well, a lot of Americans are talking about the wage disparity, and I agree. This isn't the same. Being in Canada isn't the same as being in America when it comes to the wage disparity
Yeah.
between servers and everywhere else. That's a very distinct American thing. But either way, you still do tip at the non-fast food places. You tip. There's your rule of thumb. As Pat,
Well, actually, there's-
Pat Jablonski points out that Tim loves the honor system. He just also happens to want to exploit it all for his own benefit.
No, I don't. I actually want to know what the unwritten rules are. Write them down.
Well, Tim, I'm curious how you feel about this one because I've encountered this semi-recently, but like I hadn't gone to Subway for a very long time, and now I just happen to live right next to one. And I would say Subway is fast food. I would also say that they probably put more effort into making the food than at most places, and they have now started asking for tips as well. And I'm down to tip a couple dollars to someone who just made me that sandwich. As a you know a lifer at Subway, how do you feel about that?
I don't think it should be required. I never used to. I've never heard anybody doing it till somewhat recently. But again, it would be really nice if we just had a grid or a handbook that I could consult and say,
How is it that you're the only person out of the loop on this? Everyone else seems to be in lock. Everyone else that you've talked to is in lockstep.
surely I
And
am
also,
not the only
again, by your logic of the coffee versus pouring one beer thing, that holds. If that's your argument, then me saying I think you have to tip someone at Subway because they clearly put in more work than any other fast food place. By your logic that you just used, you would agree with me that you do tip at Subway. But the logic you gave for that was, well, I never did it before, so why would I do it now? I would just say to you about a single beer thing, anytime you've ever gotten a beer at a bar in the history of the world or gotten anything from a bar, you tip the person at the bar. So you're using your logic only when it comes to the outcome that you don't have to tip.
Well, it just seems like fast food would trump all that other stuff. I get what you're saying. It's a very cogent argument. It just seemed like fast food would trump there. But I don't know. This is me asking the people in general, can we compile a set of rules? And I would be happy to abide by them. I don't know what I don't know.
You want the unwritten rules of life written down for you, is what you're saying.
The unwritten rules of tipping in North America, it would be lovely for me to just not have to stress about when should I be tipping and when I want to tip when I'm supposed to. I want to do that. I want to be a part of the social cohesion.
You're an author. You write it. Why can't you write it? You do you love research. You've polled enough people about what it is. You can write this book.
That's your next Twitter list. Top 10 places to not tip.
Sure, that will get you post that one on Threads or Bluesky.
Like,
Have you left Twitter for Bluesky yet, Garion?
No, because I still use Twitter way too much for work, so I'm just going to stay there and watch it die.
I had read the other day, someone tweeted this out. I don't know if it's true or not, but that
Probably not if you
that-
read it in a tweet.
Blue Sky has had so many people sending in complaints about other Blue Sky people that it like froze the server or something, and Blue Sky was having issues with like the amount of these people who left Twitter were just doing things that they would do on Twitter.
This feels like a very. Did Jeff tweet this out?
No, I don't know where I saw this. That someone was talking, but again, I don't know if that's true. I've never been on Blue Sky. I don't really know anything about it. It might be great. I don't have any intention of going over there for the time being. If there was a mass exodus from Twitter where everybody I knew was like going over there, well, I'm not going to be like the last person over at Twitter by myself. Like I want to be where people are.
No one's really leaving Twitter. They all have.
Yeah.
They'll leave Twitter, then they'll all have secret Twitter accounts. Like, what the fuck's the point? Just stay there. That's where people are talking.
Or they're just going to do both. Like they'll post in both places, and they won't leave Twitter because they don't want to leave. Like if you have an established following there, they don't want to leave it and start again. So they'll be like, oh, I'm moving to this, but if it doesn't work out, it's not like they're deactivating their account.
Yeah,
They're
I
just
mean,
gonna
Yeah, like
open it up again.
I have a Threads account. I don't think I've ever posted on it, but just in case.
It doesn't appeal to me, but 15 years ago, Twitter didn't appeal to me before I got a Twitter account. So I don't want to prejudge it. Just that it doesn't seem like this, like it's gonna take off. Maybe it will. It just doesn't seem like the thing for me right now.
The people have spoken in the chat, by the way. 81% say that Odell did the Odell catch better.
Okay.
It's a pretty massive margin.
Well, I don't agree with that. But that's still 1 in 5 agree with me. And that's a pretty good ratio for something that just happened 2 weeks ago versus something that people have seen highlights over for 10 years.
Well, and
so if
here-
you think about it,
No,
that really means I've won the poll because
Oh my
that's
God.
10 years worth of propaganda that I'm cutting through to against like a week and a half of a highlight that they won't show all the time on
Do you know
TV.
why they're not going to show it all the time? Because the catch isn't as fucking good.
But you
That's
don't-
why there's a reason you've seen that catch all the time. for
5
the past
years
10
from now,
years.
when both are sort of like historical catches,
And they won't.
The Wilson
you
catch will be
ask
the
someone
catch
in
of-
5 years. Can we set that up? Can we set that up? Can you set a reminder up in your phone right now? Remind me in 5 years to ask Pat about the Garrett Wilson catch versus the Odell catch. And you know what you're going to say to me? What Wilson catch was that again?
will not.
Is exactly what you're going to
No,
say.
I will not. It
But
was-
when I say the Odell catch, you're
It
going to
was
know.
one of the most exciting catches I have ever seen. So much that I was accused of not even saying hello to our friend when we arrived at a party 2 weeks ago. Instead, I just screamed about how great the Wilson catch was. Wasn't saying
True or
hello.
false?
I think I said hello.
True.
First.
No, he thinks
Then
he said.
I went in.
The witness is here.
Did not have. You just came up to me and you were screaming about the catch.
I think I started by saying hi, and then I went into the Wilson catch. That's the way I remember it.
Garion, am I
Yes.
gonna be the last person? Am I gonna be like the people playing the fucking cello on the Titanic with the 49ers? Is that happening to me?
I mean, I still believe. I was thinking today, just because there's been such a rash of injuries with the Dolphins the last couple seasons, and it also feels like it always happens with the 49ers as well.
Here's some more
Is there
soup.
something to this Shanahan offense, like the zone blocking
I-
schemes where you leave yourself more open to injury? Like they just there was not this wasn't like some crazy creative stat or anything, but it was the last stat they showed on the broadcast where Bosa got hurt and left the game. And then it was like Seahawks drive since Bosa left. 2 Seahawks touchdowns since Bosa left.
2. Yeah, they scored all their points the moment that Bosa ended up leaving the game. And like even when we were watching the game, we still couldn't figure out how they didn't have more points. They are the ultimate this season between the 20s team. They're unstoppable between both 20-yard lines. They just immediately get the ball at their 20, march down the field, and somehow penalty themselves out of points or run some stupid play or miss a field goal. Like, it is mind-boggling. I thought that when McCaffrey came back, it would solve a lot of these issues, and it hasn't yet. But I did posit this to Tim of maybe he could do some research on this, that because we were arguing about whether red zone efficiency can change within the course of one season. Like, can you go from being really bad to average or good? Because it is overall a pretty small sample. But what I would want to know is, can we see a team that creates so much yardage anyway, like a top 10 offense, which by the numbers San Francisco still is, yet have a red zone offense that's bad?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like a lot of things, whether it's, turnover margin and things like that. The things that, strangely enough, really decide games, it is so just small sample voodoo and small sample nonsense. Clearly not having George Kittle in the red zone hurts. Brandon Ayuk is another big-bodied receiver. And then not having McCaffrey for as long as they did. But look, I still think that they are the best team in their division. They're obviously making things very difficult on themselves, and they do have quite a difficult schedule down the stretch as well. So I would assume the Cardinals are finally favored to win the NFC West.
I mean, it's a three-way tie at second, and the Cardinals are a game up.
Here's a stat for you from Straight Flushes in the chat. Shout out to you, Straight Flushes. The winning percentage as Jets quarterback, Zach Wilson, 36%. Sam Darnold, 34%. Aaron Rodgers, 27%.
Not great.
You could still have Zach Wilson right now.
Oh, yeah, they could.
Probably a playoff team
No.
with Zach Wilson. He's on a playoff. He's going to
Oh, yeah,
the
I'd say
playoffs.
Zach Wilson's going to the playoffs.
Good for him. Good for Minnesota and Darnold. Good for Flacco and the Colts. Good for Geno and the Seahawks. I don't wish any of these people ill will. Like, we ruin you. If you can have a career after us, God bless you. You're lucky.
Do you think Anthony Richardson scored those 2 touchdowns today, in particular the winning one, because you didn't know he was starting today?
Yes, no doubt.
Well, so someone made mention that they were convinced that an anvil was going to drop on Flacco's head on the sidelines. I was more convinced that Richardson was going to get hurt before that final drive, and then Flacco would have to come in to win the game. How do you not know who's starting against your team?
I thought it was Flacco. I don't know. I don't know. That's how unexcited I am for this team.
All right, moment of the day for me, Garion, was in the. Well, I mean, it is from the Detroit game. Just I won a lot of money on Detroit today, so I feel very good about that. But they had a 475-yard differential in yardage between them and Jacksonville. That is the third most all time between two 70s Rams teams, weirdly enough. And then they kept cutting to Jack Campbell on defense, and he had this like super glove on because he has I think he must have a broken hand, but he looked like the fucking guy from The Simpsons with the giant hand,
did.
and they just kept cutting back to his hand over and over and over again.
And another thing. I would say my favorite moment, same game, but technically before the game. I don't know if you guys saw that clip of a reporter talking to Doug Peterson, basically just asking, like softball question, just like, what have you seen from Mac Jones this week in practice that makes you believe you guys have a chance this week? And he just responded, nothing. You're like, great. Thanks, Doug.
We mentioned my moment of the day when Fields thought he had the first down and was celebrating and pointing the first down. When it was very evident, it should have been evident.
Was it Skoranek who just looking at him going, no?
Yeah. There was, you know what another good one was? Because you rarely have Tony Romo like break his, gee Willikers kind of like character. But, God, was it Ty Johnson? I think it was Ty Johnson who rushed for a first down as the Bills were kind of driving the field at the end of the second quarter, and they only had the one timeout left. And Ty Johnson got a first down, and he gets up and starts doing the first down point. And Romo was just like, stop! This is no time for showboating. Get back in the huddle. And it felt like something that Jim Nantz would say. I was surprised that, I mean, obviously, he'll never say a bad thing about a quarterback, Romo. But yeah, he sort of broke his character there for a second. I enjoyed it.
I do have a question for you. And there's actually a serious one. I'll pose it to you, Garion, first. We've been kind of blowing some smoke up the ass of Pittsburgh here, rightfully so. They've looked really great. Tim has now put them in the category of teams that can win the Super Bowl. What is all that different between Denver and Pittsburgh?
Not a lot. I would just say like the infrastructure in terms of just what Tomlin is and what we know that he can do. Although again, obviously Sean Payton comes with his own set of fans and his own set of credentials.
Not Tim.
Playmakers are
Not
slightly
Tim.
better too.
Are they? Like it's George Pickens and
And
it's
Najee's been looking all right this season. Like,
Najee's okay. Jalen Warren's okay.
Firemouth is okay. Like
they're
all
the
okay.
same team.
They're
It
slightly
just
better.
feels like Denver is unfamiliar Pittsburgh. Like you just don't know these guys.
Yeah.
And
Like Bo Nix but Bo Nix is playing better than Russell Wilson is right
like
now.
slightly better coaching, slightly better skill position players.
I mean, these are the battle of two coaches with one Super Bowl apiece.
Yeah, but like no one would contend that Tomlin isn't.
I guess the
the
Steelers
third best quarterback of the last 20, third best coach of the last 20 years.
by
People would contend
winning
that Tomlin
today.
is-
The
Yeah,
Steelers
they would say he's third
have-
after Reed and Belichick for sure. No one would say that about Peyton or anybody
No,
else.
but I
so.
mean, when people push back against Tomlin, it's like, look, he makes the playoffs every year and doesn't fucking do anything.
not only does he make the play, he never has a losing season.
No, but they don't do anything. Like that's great and everything.
Well, they do things at times. They've been to championship games. They won Super Bowls. Like,
They won a Super Bowl with Tomlin.
yeah, and they went to another one and lost. They've been to several
To
championship
Aaron
games.
Rodgers.
They did. They've been to several championship games. Like, and he gets the most out of bad talent.
Sure, but this is what
It's
this is
very
basically what
close.
this is basically what Peyton did in New Orleans for a decade.
It's very close, but I think just Pittsburgh's slightly better at all these things, but just slightly.
I
I
don't
think the one thing I would definitively say is that with today's win, they have beaten an elite team. And as good as the Broncos have looked and as down to the wire as they had the Chiefs, today's win against the Falcons was definitively their best win of the season. And I still wouldn't say I think of the Falcons as like some amazing team. So I'm with you. I don't think there's that much of a separation between Pittsburgh and Denver, but I do understand why people have Pittsburgh ahead of them.
It's funny because they both played the Ravens and obviously Pittsburgh beat the crap out of them. But if you put Denver against Pittsburgh, I feel like no matter where that is, it's a coin flip. They're both basically trying to play the same game. It's going to be
But in general, wouldn't you say you trust Mike Tomlin to win that game more?
Yeah, I do. And listen, I think that Pittsburgh is better, but I think that it's also because I have this hesitation with Denver where I haven't seen these guys play. Like in a big moment, is Bo Nix going to crumble? And I've seen them get blown out by the Ravens. The Ravens just lost. So there's that recency bias in mind too. But they play exactly the same.
Yeah. No, again, there's a reason that I started today's show by saying like I have to give some credit to Pittsburgh and Denver. There's a reason they're paired in my mind. I thought both teams were fraudulent for the exact same reason, where I just didn't trust their quarterback play. I wouldn't trust their skill position players in a playoff game. And yeah, they're incredibly similar. And I would say that, Denver probably has a bit of an easier schedule down the stretch.
What was
It'd
it?
be
What
tough
was
to
this,
catch Pittsburgh at
what
this
week
point, though.
they played this year? What week did they play? Week 3? Week 2? Week 3?
Sounds right.
Somewhere like that. And let's see, that game was 13-6.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was in Denver.
Knicks was terrible in that game.
Knicks was terrible, and Fields was like okay. But I would say that on it, like he is a rookie quarterback. I feel like he's gotten better over the past 2 months.
Yeah.
and this team overall has gotten better.
But I think if you give them that game again, Tomlin's still going to make the rookie's life a living nightmare.
Sure, but I think that this defense can make Russell Wilson look kind of
Yeah,
crappy too.
maybe.
I mean, I think that the Steelers are much better with Russell Wilson, so maybe they do
Let's say
score.
they play round 1. The line is what?
if it's in Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh by 5.5.
I would take Denver in that game. If
But
it
like,
was
I think
5.5.
that probably would be the line.
Five,
Pittsburgh by
5.5 seems like a weird
Will be
playoff
probably
number.
a 2-7 game. Like you're not going to get that many shorter than that. I don't think.
I guess that's what it would be. Yeah, it'd probably be 6 or 6.5, honestly, because
could
people
be.
like betting the
Yeah,
Steelers,
6.
and there'd be this sort of like fraudulent element that people feel about the Broncos because coming into the year they have the super low
Yeah.
win total. Who the fuck is Bo Nix? But I think when you look at these teams, especially like throw out the first few weeks, because Denver started 0-2, they lost to the Seahawks and they lost to the Steelers.
Raiders.
And they beat the Raiders.
I thought they lost the Raiders week 1.
No,
That was last year, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, they beat this. They lost in Seattle.
That's right.
Week 1.
That's right.
Then they lost at home to the Steelers in week 2. And like their best win is probably Tampa Bay when Tampa Bay was firing
Well,
on all
today.
cylinders.
That's true.
Atlanta's a better
As I've told you, I like Tampa
Okay,
more
but
than
like-
Atlanta anyway.
I was gonna say, if I hope that you guys bet Tampa after we talked about that.
I
last
did.
week.
I
That was a
bet.
huge win for that bet.
I bet them at 9-1 on last week's show, and then I bet them at plus 120 for over 8.5 wins earlier this week. That number's still out there, I think, at Bet365. If you want to take it at Cool Bet right now, they're plus 250 to make the playoffs, which I think is super live too. I don't know what to make of Atlanta. Like they'll probably win 50-0
This
next
is
week.
who Atlanta is. You can't make anything of them. They can't be trusted.
Like Kirk looked bad.
Yeah, they
Today.
looked bad 2 weeks in a row.
He
But
had
they can
ba-
beat anybody.
He had bad mobility. Now, this came up all through. Cust would rate his mobility, Garion, as average for a 37-year-old man.
Oh boy.
Average. Not the greatest. Not the worst. Average.
Now, okay, on a spectrum, like if you had to put a percentage on of the population as to what average is, like what percentile to what percentile is average to you?
Between 25 and 75 would be the average.
And
Above
where
se-
would you put yourself? Where would you put yourself in that?
Dead in
that
the center.
percentile?
50. Dead in the center.
Okay, see, if you had said to me that you at least had yourself in like the 26th or 27th percentile, I would say you're actually accurate about your own athleticism. You just don't know what average means. Now you've just completely lost me on both sides of this.
Okay. I think I'm
I think you're a 50% athlete in terms of 37-year-old
not
males.
athlete, just mobility in general. 50%. Middle of
Because
the
you
pack.
go on mall walks?
I walk the golf course. I don't have any walking aids. I'm fine.
So because you don't
How many people do you think have walking aids at 37?
I don't know, but I mean, I think the average person wouldn't, and I don't.
that is your ranking of being average.
I
You
think I'm
the
right-
average person doesn't use a cane to walk around at 37, so therefore you're average.
I think
'cause
I'm
you don't?
right in the middle for mobility. Right in the middle. If forced to pick which side of the line, I would pick this slightly below the 50. If you had to like maybe say I was 45, 42, okay. But I think 50 is the right number for me.
Stephen A. asked him, what do you think your current 40 time is? So the last time you ran a 40, it was 7.18. Do you think you're faster?
times. That was
Do
three
you
times
think
now.
you're faster or slower than that now 5 years later?
Or around the same speed.
If we set the line, Paul, at 7.5 in a 40 time for Tim, do you think that would get equal action on either side?
Because there is like a historical video of him running a 7.4 in jeans, and then that was like 3 or 4 years ago.
That was like 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
6 years ago.
And I feel like you're a little bit less swift of foot. Like I would be betting the over, I think.
Fair enough. I think I would be right at where I was.
So we brought like Butts, who's standing over there, brought this up that like of the 20 people, like 20 guys that like we're friends with, like how many do you think you're more mobile than of those guys? And he mentioned 2. Both have like catastrophic knee injuries, and we weren't even sure about that.
But that doesn't mean that our group of friends is reflective of the average group, that maybe they're far more mobile than most. That's the position I'm going to take here.
It's a pretty sizable group.
That's quite a take.
That is my position, that they're all well above average in various ways.
The
For the mobility.
middle-aged Canadian dudes.
All above the average for the age group. Yeah. Like our group of friends are far more mobile than most, probably.
Paul would like to finally chime in.
I would say your group of friends, as like the outsider, with my own group of friends, like back in Ontario, they're about average, maybe a little bit below average.
That's where I would be on the spectrum as well. I mean,
I haven't seen
Jared,
all
you
of
came
them
and
run.
golfed with us. You saw 16 of them on the trip. I did. Would you say the most mobile crew going?
Not the most mobile, no. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody. It was a lovely trip. Thanks for having me. But yeah, no. Are they all
Mobile is
elite
also a very
athletes?
weird word.
No.
Agile.
Well, if we're just saying straight agility, both the guys with the knee problems are way more agile than you.
Oh, he's got jukes.
Jukes.
Oh my god. He's stabbing someone?
I give him that, and I give him that. Shoulder fakes.
You realize your shoulder fake is supposed to go one way or the other on a juke, not double chicken wing forward.
I get you go this way like a swim.
But you're not going either way. Your body's not moving. You're just going like this. You look like the wiggly wild arms man.
No, I don't. I give you a fake, then I give you another fake.
Like a 1/10 rotation there or something?
Is your rotator cuff still intact?
Rotator cuff is great. Agile. Not the most agile. I'm not an acrobat. I'm not saying that. I'm not going on Cirque
That's
du
your
I'm not.
example.
I'm not going on Cirque du Soleil. But am I the average agility? I think so for my age bracket.
So Matt Keller says, do average 37-year-olds need pull-up assistance? I would actually say yes.
Yeah, I actually
It
do
would be
think
the
so.
answer.
I do think so.
Yeah. You gave yourself such an easy out when you said that you considered average to be from the 25th percentile to the 75th, but then you put yourself in the 50th percentile. Come on, man.
I stand by it.
I would say I'm like in the 15th percentile.
Oh, don't sell yourself so
You know
short,
what?
Garion.
Somewhere right now, after watching that, Derrick Henry is laughing at you. I'm not biting. It looks like you might knock yourself out hitting your head into your shoulder doing that.
Shoulder shake.
You look like you're having like a spasm.
No, just I'm agile.
like-
I can move.
Your back might be thrown out here in a minute.
Please.
We don't have a lot of medical
I don't-
insurance for this studio, pal.
I don't have a bad back.
No, but you might after your spastic movements.
Although I did have a bad back on the golf trip because I sat in the back of a car for 4 hours in an awkward position. And I was out of commission for like 2 weeks. But that was an exigent circumstance.
Was it?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not usually pinned in a position for like 4 straight hours.
What age bracket do you identify with? This is what Anthony asked. And that might go a long way to revealing how you think you're average. Like, do you identify as a 75-year-old?
No, I
Because you
don't.
probably are pretty average.
No, I don't. Right?
Like, I'm pretty sure my grandfather, who's 80, has better mobility than you.
He's a very active person.
He is a very active.
think
He's 80.
Age is just a number.
Trump is way
Just
more agile.
immediately like, well, he's a particularly active 80-year-old
He is.
man.
He is.
Oh, someone says who would win a race between Cust and Jeff? That is something we can bet money on.
So I'm gonna say this right now. I'd have Cust. I just think his legs are longer.
Oh, and Jeff is coming off a catastrophic knee injury as well.
Yes,
Also that too.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
However, Cam would dust both of you.
I believe
The
that.
50-year-old Cam. He'd think the Taylor Swifties are chasing him. That's how they double your time.
I think he would beat us. I agree. I do agree with that.
But you versus Jeff, I think we need to make this happen.
You know what I think of though in terms of like who's like an average 37-year-old? I just think back to like when we were in college, Pat, and we did like our little touch football games.
And Dagan fucking dummied everyone.
Dagan, who looked like he might have slept on the street the night before. And he was just the fastest. He was older than all of us by 10 years, and he was the fastest person I'd ever seen in my life.
He would smoke during the games.
Sounds like he's a natural athlete.
He was and he just dusted everyone. It was amazing.
No, I'm not in that category.
You really,
No, I'm not in that category.
you look like you may have pulled a muscle doing your spastic.
No, you're just
juke move.
jealous of my jukes.
Yes.
And my shoulder shakes.
Yeah, you're right. I am very jealous. Can you film Jeff and Tim doing a decathlon? No, we're not going to do
No,
that.
I don't.
You can't even
You
get
just
them to
said
do
they
a
don't have great
cartwheel.
health insurance.
Quick hits on the games: Rams and New England. Maybe we pump the brakes on Drake May as Dagod. Played fine again.
fine.
Like he's gonna make his crippling mistakes, but I just don't want people to fall into the trap of Drake May is awesome because I saw him make this awesome play. Like that's the Sam Darnold logic.
That's the Jeff logic.
But that is like rookies are gonna make. You need to make those plays. Yes, I understand that. I fell into this trap with Trevor Lawrence year one too. Be like, oh my god, like look at that. It's like, oh yeah, maybe he's not all that good. Like maybe he's average because he makes some real bonehead plays.
But again, the Patriots played well enough to confirm my belief that they're nowhere near the worst team in the league.
no,
They're not.
You're correct, and they're better at home.
Yeah.
Denver, Atlanta. Oh yeah, Green Bay blocks a field goal for your mighty Chicago Bears.
Green Bay is a better version of San Francisco in that, like, they're still not as good as people say they are, but they are better than the Niners. Like, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be in the postseason, but they don't have much of a chance to win the division, I don't think. So we're going to see them in the wild card round against somebody in the NFC South or the NFC West, and I think they'll probably prevail. So they're a second round caliber football team. But I think that's their.
They
But I
played
think.
a tough.
But I think
They
that's
played
their
a tough
ceiling.
divisional game in Chicago. Like, look, they probably shouldn't have won that game, but like, I don't know. Sometimes I think with like divisional games like that, especially when you're on the road, if you can just walk out of there with a win, I'm not going to hold it against
No, but
you.
they win all their games except for the one against the Cardinals in the rain. They kind of win all their games really close. Like they don't really.
I mean, they've
take
also
any-
been missing their starting quarterback. I would say, how
Always
many
an
games
excuse.
did Love miss? 3?
Okay, so
And he
it's,
probably wasn't healthy.
so
for at least
it so
3 of them.
it is an excuse for Jordan Love, who didn't play for 2 games and then came back hurt and played through it. But when I criticize Aaron Rodgers, nothing is his fault.
Well,
But the games that Jordan Love wasn't there for, well, that's on him. He's hurt.
It's not on him, but it's on the team. Like absolve the team of their play, and they won those games, so they were fine. They won all those games.
I more
really
meant
well.
the games he was clearly playing at not 100%.
Like,
But again, I think the Packers are fine. They're clearly a flawed team in some ways.
yeah,
but like,
that's all. I don't think they can win a Super Bowl, but are they a second round playoff team? Yeah, I think they are.
Did they make it to the NFC Championship last year?
No, they lost to the 49ers in the divisional round last year.
What Green Bay needs, I think that Green Bay could win the Super Bowl because I think Love can get hot enough to do it. It's just he has, and we saw it earlier in the game today. He made this and he ended up throwing a pick anyway. But he just made this horrendous throw, and the Bears dropped it.
Yeah.
Like you just need to have that luck on. Even Josh Allen was getting away with it for the first 8 weeks of the season. Like he was throwing picks, and they just weren't catching it.
That's why I would be very hesitant to pick Green Bay in a playoff game because I just feel like Love's
They're a great underdog playoff team.
better as an underdog. Just Love's like, and they would be like a favorite going into Atlanta, let's say, or into Tampa in the first round. And like I wouldn't love them in that game because Love will make some stupid mistake they may not be able to get away with.
I mean, as we saw today, if Bo Nix can cut up that secondary, I think Jordan Love can have one of his ceiling games against Atlanta.
Maybe.
Nix doesn't make that many mistakes, though.
Yeah.
He doesn't have, obviously, the upside of Love and some of the throws that he can make. But that's, again, what I was saying with Wilson. He made the one crippling error, but he went out of his way
Yes.
to make sure that he didn't make any stupid mistakes. And Bo Nix actually seems to be like the better version of that.
He's 26. Probably should be, ready to
He's
make some
36.
plays.
He is incredibly old.
Yeah, like he doesn't have time. He's Brandon Whedon. He doesn't have time to learn.
He's better than Brandon Whedon.
Yes, but he's like age-wise. He's an old rookie.
I mean, how old is Jaden Daniels? 24?
Well, 2 years makes a big difference.
Sure. Last game that we didn't cover here. Did it even happen? Minnesota and Tennessee.
I mean, it happened because we just kept getting highlights or information about sacks.
Well, when you bet over 3.5 Will Levis sacks and it cashes in the first half, you're doing pretty good, Gary.
The Vikings just keep piling up wins. They're not that good either, but they keep piling up wins. So
They need to be in the AFC South. They're 4-0 against the AFC South
yeah.
now.
Well, unfortunately, now they've run out of AFC South teams to play.
How much would you pay to be a part of Trump's McDonald's crew on that PG, the private jet? RFK just pounding some McDonald's into him.
I find that hard to believe.
He was.
I know, but I find it hard to believe.
One thing I'll give.
Trying to become confirmable.
RFK has the perfect, wanting to show off his chest and look healthy move. He's wearing the tight undershirt. The suit is sort of
Yeah.
a bit looser, but he wears a skinny tie. The skinny tie is the move if you want to seem like you have a really big chest and seem like you're really jacked. It is.
It's the opposite of what Trump wears.
He
wears
it
the
is.
big, long, wide
and it makes him
power
look
ties.
dumpy. RFK makes him look. I mean, RFK is in great shape.
Yes, he
he's
is
like
in good
seven. He's
Just
more
say there's
mobile than you.
Two different shapes there.
Yeah, but
Yes.
like he's actively in good shape, but he looks in better shape because of the
Yeah,
skinny tie.
I think that's right.
Maybe. Do you think RFK would make McDonald's monopoly year round?
But that is enough. That is enough a reason to confirm him.
Let's guess
Wouldn't,
this.
I don't know, Tim. Wouldn't that scare you almost? Like, wouldn't you not be able to trust yourself?
I don't know. I'd be willing to find out.
This guy says that RFK is on steroids. We had this argument earlier. I think he's on HGH and TRT or whatever, like testosterone replacement. I don't think he's doing like anabolic Arnold from the 70s steroids. He just has HGH face.
Yeah,
get-
he's not doing the stuff they were doing on the challenge 15 years ago. He's doing the stuff they're doing on the challenge now.
That is the whole thing. Boom. Let's guess the spreads for next week. If you haven't bet who's not going to score the first touchdown yet, Justin Herbert is the answer to that. Garion, are you tired of getting beat by Tim?
You know what? I did
No.
better last week. I'm just looking to improve each and every week.
Garion's only interested in PBs.
Personally, you really are Canadian.
Yeah, I'm in it for the PB.
I know I reference it a lot, but the giant article I wrote for Sportsnet magazine when that was still a thing in 2012, there was the Olympics that year. I just wrote this entire thing about how the Canadian mentality is a loser mentality at the Olympics because all they do is celebrate fucking personal best for some asshole who came in 17th. They did not like that column.
bet they didn't.
They were like, we are not running this. I was like, it's all true. But in 2020, personal best didn't mean shit when it was here. It was gold or nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know what? They won a bunch of gold.
They won the Olympics. They won the most golds.
The only personal best we care about is whether Tim can get under 7.5 seconds in a 40-yard dash.
That's right, Garion.
I was thinking, actually, Garion, about doing some sort of PME get-together this year in Toronto.
Okay.
Like, we'll go up, we'll fly up for, like, I'm sorry, your free trip to Toronto where everything's on me and we go to sporting events and, like, meet people who would want to meet. Maybe even go golf in Oakdale with Jeff. Get to see Garion and Rob and Cam. Maybe some people would come in. We'll have some sort of event. And just the first thought in your mind is, oh, my God, how horrible is that for me? I'm sorry.
I didn't say a word.
Was he on camera when he made the face ball, or was it just me?
I got the after the fact face.
I mean, like, I know I made a face because I don't travel well.
You just went to Montreal with us for a week.
And I'm
asking you to come for a weekend.
A weekend, okay. A weekend,
Like
I
a
can do
Friday
that.
to Sunday or something.
yeah, I can do that. That won't bother me.
Stefan's doing all right. Insurance paid for his rental.
Good. A weekend, okay. I can.
But wouldn't that be fun, Garion?
I'd be a
that
great
have like a
time.
live show where everyone can show up?
Yeah,
for?
live show.
That is my favorite part when I do meet people like at events. Like that was really fun in Montreal.
Let's guess the week 12 spreads. Garion, would you like to go first, second, or third?
I'll go first.
Garion will go first.
Sadly, I won't have Monday Night Football for this rendition of it
How come?
because the game has already started and it's been pulled off the board everywhere.
Oh,
Chargers are in that game, and so there's just no line, and I didn't see it before it got pulled.
Yeah, you tried to. Tim lost his earpiece, and now he can't figure out how to put it back in.
Oh, just peak
Look.
agility.
Yeah, you bent over and grabbed that like a pro.
Very agile.
Very
Jim,
agile.
maybe a
30
live show, maybe some sort of
37-year-old.
golf outing or something like that.
Yeah, that'd
maybe
be
a
fine.
Jays game.
That'd be fine.
We go to the Dogs Bullocks,
Can
watch
I
some games.
Can I score the? Can I?
This all sounds
Can
great.
I score the Blue Jays game and not be laughed at?
No, but you know what? I'll try. I have some contacts, depending on who we end up signing with to be the new sponsor of this show once my current deal is over, to see if we can get you to throw out the first pitch. At the Blue
Oh
Jays
no! Oh no!
Oh, you could be the second. You could be the second person on this show to throw out the first pitch of the Jays game.
game. You throw out a first pitch?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was fun. I got to talk to Orlando Hudson. He was super nice.
The
That was
O-Dog.
cool. The only thing that made me mad is this is back when they used to drive you out. They had a sponsorship deal with Chevy. So they would drive you out from they'd open up the center field walls and drive you out in a car to throw the pitch. And I feel like every game I went to, it was like in the new Corvette or like a Dodge Viper or all these cool cars. I went out in a Chevy Trailblazer.
Sweet.
And then I tried to I was like, okay, cool. This is great. I can get on the mound. I'll throw it. I assumed a player was catching the ball.
Mascot.
Ace put a glove on the tip of his wing
Tip of his dick.
And I was like, can he see? Can I throw this? And then he signed the ball as if I wanted the autograph of a mascot.
Awesome. Cust,
But it's fun.
Cust has big 50-cent viral potential with the first pitch. Like big time.
very worried about it.
Bigly.
I'll have to be like Hank Hill, where he like built his own football thing
then-
to throw footballs through,
And then
day after day after day.
then you would get Dandy Don Meredith to throw it for you instead.
I would have to build like a mound and like practice throwing 60 feet 6 inches for weeks to be comfortable doing that.
Well, your first mistake is you don't actually throw it from the mound.
Yeah, you throw it from
you'd
in
have
front
to
of the mound.
you throw it from flat ground about 47 feet away.
Okay, then I would have to practice from that distance.
You know
over
what?
and
We
over
could
and
we could
over
put
again.
you in like Pee Wee baseball because that's like the mound distance from like where they throw, and you can go strike out all the kids.
I would have to get my practice in.
So you versus Jeff in a 40 time, and then you can race someone in a grimace suit. Garion, first game.
We got the Steelers at the Browns.
Okay. I'm gonna say Steelers by 7.
Nope.
Steelers by 4.5.
Nope.
5.
5.5.
So point to Tim already. Great. 1-0 Tim. My pick first on what game?
KC at Carolina.
Oh my God. Carolina coming off the bye week too. Watch out for Carolina on the first drive of the game. Just like Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Mac Jones on the first drive, not the most incompetent player in football. The rest of the drives, a bit incompetent. So coming back from Germany, I don't think I got to make the joke about Miles Sanders getting hurt in Germany. Savvy. That's where you want to get hurt because then they could spin your blood around. You don't have to fly over there to go get it done right then. I will take Kansas City by 12.5.
Nope.
11.5.
Ding, ding, ding.
Fuck off. Really?
Oh wow.
Well, I was going to make a pick so that Garion couldn't just go. I had to pick a side to go on.
Yeah.
Next game.
Bucks at Giants.
I like the Giants in this game.
Two teams coming off bye.
Yeah, I like the Giants in this game. How much do they hate the Giants? Tampa by 3.5.
Nope.
Mike Evans should return for this game as well, Gary.
Yeah. I'll say Tampa by 4.5.
Nope.
Tampa by 5.
It's 4, so Garion gets it.
And so do I.
Yeah, you guys both split it by 4.
True.
Like,
Pat, you should have split them.
yeah, I wasn't going to do that. Take my chances the other way. Garion's pick on which game, Paul?
Lions at Colts.
Okay. Man, every lot of road or a lot of home dogs this week.
Eric's two favorite teams, Garion.
Yeah, true. I'll say Lions by 7.5.
Ding, ding, ding.
Wow. That's
Well
shorter
done.
than I thought it was going to be,
I was
actually.
going to guess 8. So
I was going to
I
guess
thought
10.
about 10 for a second. I was like, no, that'll be stupid. Just make it 7.
10 was going to be my guess. I don't think there's been a spread at 10 all year,
No.
but it was going to be my guess. Smash a like if you're still here, by the way. Sub to Mayo Media Network for the next game, Paul.
Titans at Texans.
Texans by 8.5.
Nope.
7.5.
Ding, ding, ding.
Feels too low.
6-3 to none. Great. Next game.
Vikings at Bears.
Vikings by 5.5.
Nope.
Vikings by 3.
Nope.
Well, it was just 5.5 for Green Bay. I think the market likes Green Bay more than the Vikings. I think.
That's why I guessed it. I thought they were the same.
What did Garion guess?
3.
I guess 3. But remember, that game is also in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game's it's Minnesota at Chicago,
Yeah,
right?
same
Oh,
as it was
sorry,
Green Bay
Yeah,
at Chicago.
4 Minnesota.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. 1 for me. Let's go. On the board. Next one.
Patriots at Dolphins.
Ooh, Garion, you get to guess first on your game?
I was thinking about this.
Game of
today.
the week.
I think it'll be Dolphins by 3.5.
No.
Dolphins by 6.5.
No.
I think it's even higher than that. I'll say 7, but I would have guessed 8.
7.5.
It's 7.5.
Look at you underrating the Dolphins, Garion.
Man. Well, again, this
3.5.
this is why I'm not lying when I say that I just assume the worst thing is going to happen in every play. I am the anti-Tim. I think they're all bad and terrible.
You guys should just quit the teams you root for and pick a new team and combine forces.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get Tim to be a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, he did go on to the Chiefs. They immediately lost to the Bills, so that's helpful. Next game, Paul.
We got the Cowboys at the Commanders.
Commanders by... I said no game has been 10. I'll guess 10.
Nope.
7.5.
Nope.
I'll just say 7.
It's 9.5. So Pat gets
I
it.
did it.
Whoa.
I was close to 10.
Yep.
Boy.
Daniels is hurt, right? Or is he just not, like, did he hit a rookie wall and is now regress, Garion?
No, he's definitely still feeling the rib injury.
He's just not running anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And he's short arming a lot of these things. He's doing like the throwing, like he's trying to follow all the way through, but he's short arming it and landing it like a yard before everyone. And the whole Kingsbury thing that we've seen every year that he's been in the league. But it seems like their plays are still working. He's just not hitting the guys who are open. Or Noah Brown drops 3 passes a game.
Boy, that's a lot of points still.
Man. The Cowboys are bad. The fact that you locked in. Okay, so Tim locked in the Texans as his super lock, Garion, on the show. And then this morning, he bet someone in our chat Dallas +7.
Yeah, I had a change of heart during the week. I
Tim's
did.
making some weird moves. Tim, do you want to tell everyone what you did today? Obviously, you're going for the Detroit Lions, Dan Orlovsky, a winless season in our Dynasty League. Is it worse that you started an injured Tank Bigsby today, or that you started Jacksonville D?
I didn't know Bigsby was
Who?
hurt. I'm paying so little attention to that league.
You know you owe more money if you come in
I
last,
don't
right?
think it matters at this point.
You could have tried to get a win somewhere.
I have tried. I just can't. My team is too bad. I have some picks for next year though. So
By the way, an injured Tank scored 5 more fantasy points than Jacksonville D because they were -5.
I was able to overcome Lamar not having very many points. I feel very good about that because he just usually carries me every single week. What is the next game?
Broncos at Raiders.
We're at the time when that salt is hitting you from the soup. I can see it in your eyes. You're like just fading in real time.
Broncos at Raiders. Broncos by 7.
No.
Interesting. How much do they respect the Broncos?
How much do you respect Wood?
I'll say Broncos 6.5.
Nope.
You said 7.5? Broncos by 8.
4.5.
Garion.
They don't
I like
respect
the Broncos in that game.
Broncos.
That feels trappy, but man, do I like the Broncos.
I get divisional, I guess, but I don't know. Seems
Unless they give up 19 receptions to Brock Bowers, I'm not sure how they move the ball.
Jasm says that salt is the agility king's weakness. It's inflaming those joints on you.
I'm like Samson. It's dipping me. It's injuring my heel.
How many games are? It's Garion's pick
No,
first.
sorry. Samson had his hair cut.
Yeah, my
His
pick first on
Achilles.
this one.
See, the salt is. Does the salt give you brain worms?
Evidently. Samson had the hair weakness. Achilles had the heel weakness.
No, we didn't have a heel weakness. He had an Achilles weakness. It's not part of your heel.
Yeah.
Heel's a bone. Achilles is a
Yeah,
tendon.
that's true.
Sorry, thought you were the doctor, not me.
3 games left with odds that I have.
All right.
We've got San Francisco at Green Bay.
Oh, the fraudulent bowl.
Interesting. I'll say Packers by 2.
Nope.
Niners by 1.5.
Nope.
Green Bay by 1.
Ding, ding, ding.
It's on top of it. 2 more. Let's go.
Cardinals at Seahawks.
Seahawks by 1.5.
Nope.
Seahawks by 1.
Ding, ding, ding.
11-4-2. Last game.
Eagles at Rams.
Garion?
That's Tim, I think.
I don't think it matters at this point. Eagles at Rams. Eagles are favored, right?
Eagles by 3.5.
Nope.
Eagles by 4.5.
Nope.
Eagles by 4.
2.5.
2.5.
And the Monday night game is
It
we
is
don't have
juiced.
lines, but
It's-
it's Chargers Ravens.
Where is it?
I suspect it's in Baltimore since the Ravens were on the road today and the Chargers are at home tonight.
Where is it, Paul? Is that SoFi?
At SoFi, I think
Is
it's
that
got-
better or worse for the Chargers? 'Cause I feel like they're a
Better.
better outdoor team.
Yeah, I actually think it's better though. I don't know how many Baltimore fans are going to be there.
I don't care
Yeah,
about
they and the Bills should switch stadiums.
I think it would be Ravens by 1.
Okay, we don't know what
That'd
the.
be my guess.
I think the
fine.
Ravens will be favored by more than that. Like the Chargers
say
are only
3
favored
at
by
least.
1. You're ready to rip this out of your. You put down the microphone. You're ready to walk off the set, are you?
No, I'm good.
You sure? You don't look good.
No, I'm great.
You don't look good.
Well, how bad does it feel that I crushed you once again at this game as I'm fading?
It's like every single week.
I suppose.
Many are saying that you cheat at this game because not only do you do well, you never ask for credit for being good at it
What's the point of asking for credit? I get the credit every week.
from winning.
By you guys telling me I've won again. I don't need to get the credit. Everybody sees it.
All right. You got to start working on your book then of social situations that everyone else knows besides Tim, the book.
Yeah.
You make it an ebook.
Yeah, that would
People
be a
can read it on the
That'd be a
Little top 10
bestseller.
list.
That'd be a bestseller.
top 10, Tim. Top 10. The crooked New York Times could make you the top 10. We're staying here until Justin Herbert scores this touchdown. Do you have to pee? Is that
No,
what
I
you
don't
need to
actually.
do?
I'm good.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Garion, thank you for being on. You don't need to put the mic down, but what if I come back to you?
I can pick it back up.
Garion, you know he's the only guest that gets to have that mic?
I suspect I know why.
I don't know why.
He's the only one who doesn't know why he has that mic.
I don't know why.
Well, what was
Strangely enough, it's more mobility.
our main complaint with the other mic?
That I didn't speak enough into the mic.
Correct.
But
This
you
one
think I
you
was speaking
hold-
to this one less because I have full control over it.
And you hold it to your face when you talk.
Okay.
And the other one, you'd be like, "What are you talking about?" No, I'm talking into the mic. I'm talking into it right
It's a
now. How
multi-direct.
can you not see?
They're
I'm
all
talking into the mic?
multi-directional mics.
Oh boy.
You're the guy that can't put your own earpiece in. You need someone to do it
I
for
did
you.
much better today on my own. Even Paul will give me credit. I did much better today.
Paul had to come over and put it.
He had to finish it off.
You know, if you had good mobility, he had to come and give you the old.
but I mostly
the,
got
the
it.
old Bobby Kraft, did he?
He put it in his ear, and then I made sure that like it wasn't sticking out, like he had a knife sticking out of his
Yeah,
head.
so it's progress.
All right, that'll do it for me and Tim and Garion at Garion Thorne on X and DraftKings. Playbook, sportsbook. What are we talking about over there now?
What
do you think, Tim?
We're called now. He dropped the mic after his big win.
All right, that'll do it for us. Yeah, sorry, Garion. Did you actually say what it was?
DraftKings Network. It's fine.
DraftKings Network. Mayo Media Network is where you can find this show. And this is the PME. So you should smash the like. Use underdog code Mayo and sub to the channel while you are here. And I will see you next time.